sorry, Vinny, this is slightly separate from the game. I work for the Mail, and the Mail have done a kind of campaign, or they're doing a campaign about referees and particularly maybe grassroots referees getting in trouble. And Ange Postecoglou basically said that every manager, even at Premier League level, they can do their bit maybe to be lead. I just wondered how you felt about that, if you think that's correct, that you do have a kind of responsibility as managers, and I'll be putting the question to all the managers, and also put some detail. How can you improve your behaviour when the stakes are so high?
So I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's absolutely true that it trickles down to grassroots football. I mean, how many of your kids have dived on the floor because they've seen a professional football player do it at the weekend? So the behaviour does transpire all the way through to grassroots football. But I think the nature of the game is so competitive now, with the pressure being everywhere, in this league especially. I think the biggest thing always is to have a consistent approach. And what I mean by this is, I remember a few years back when I was still a player, that it was a massive team for players of the top teams to go and surround referees. And I remember we had a meeting about this with the referees, and I was one of the captains, and not saying, but our team was actually quite good at doing. We weren't doing it too much, but I did say to the referees, I said, look, if the others are getting an advantage because of it, and they're influencing the referees, I'm getting pressure from my team and saying, why aren't we doing it? So the Premier League did something really good, and they started putting big fines on the teams that were doing it, and actually red cards and sanctions with it. Soon as they did that, I think out of the English game, that and diving, for example, it went in a completely other direction than, for example, in other leagues in Europe where I also played. And what I mean by this is, it's no different for the coaches. So if we're in a position where others might get an advantage, it becomes very difficult for us to kind of almost not mimic the behavior, although we don't want to. And certainly I've tried my whole life not to do it, but it's difficult. And therefore, the point I want to make is, if the league is hard on it, and the league makes a decision that we won't accept it anymore, and it stops, and no team can gain an advantage out of it, then it will stop. Because all the managers I've met so far are reasonable, sensible people, very likable when you get to talk to them. So I can't imagine for one reason that we all enjoy, what do you say, ranting and raving on a weekend. I think there's more that goes into our work than that. But it is whether you think that it's a competitive advantage or not. And in the end, that's what's at stake every game you play.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thank you.
Martin, shall we start with you and then move down the line?
Vinny, what did you do yourself during the international break? Did you need to go away and clear your head, or did you just carry on working through it?
Not clear my head, but carried on working and family time. Yeah. Of course, I think there's a couple of things you need to catch up on in those moments, and that was that's an opportunity. But for me, these breaks, I'm used to it as well in terms of making it useful. Also to maybe look at the bigger picture as opposed to always put your head down on the next game.
But it's a long run now, isn't it, till the next one? So this is the sort of real meat of the season, I suppose. Yeah,
it is. And in terms of long run, I think there's no better way to prepare yourself to coaching than the Championship. So we'll be fine, I'm sure. But it just feels like you're entering a different phase of the season. That's true, and I can only say it's the way I am as well. But I'm actually really looking forward to it. I just enjoy watching these guys train every day and seeing what they're able to do. And all I want is for them to be able to show it at the weekend every single time they go out there and play.
There's some stats around after Arsenal, Vinny. Like nobody's ever lost the first 10 out of 12 and survived. I would imagine things like that just make you more determined, though. No.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'm not. You can't control what's happened, but you still have a massive influence on how you conduct yourself. Like I said, I've spoken to managers who told me the stories of how they stayed up, and none of those stories is easy. They're all involving some kind of drama, some sort of revival throughout the season, and we're really focused on that.
Hi, Vinny. James Trafford kept a clean sheet for the England under-21s in midweek. He shipped obviously a few goals. He's come in for a little bit of criticism. Will that have done his confidence some good? And are you contemplating a change in goal?
It's multiple questions, but the first thing is, I think it's clear for everyone the talent that he is, and I don't think we should forget that. And when you concede a goal, it's no different than when you score a goal. I think it's always the whole team that has to take responsibility. If one of the players in your team gets shoved out of the way and they're coming into the 6-yard box with a clear shot on goal, that might be a difficult one to keep as a clean sheet, But on top of that, I think we just have to look as well at always what has really happened in games for me, and if I was to look at individuals, I think I'd play with be 5 players left on the pitch, because we have made individual mistakes this season, but we shouldn't make the mistake to compare what we've known last season with this season. It's a completely different animal, and therefore we just have to make sure that each and every player gets up to the level that is needed. And last week or against Palace, it was someone else, if you remember, and the week before that it was someone else, and they're all now on a fast track to getting to what it takes to be in this league, all of them.
Just a quick one more from me, a quick one. You may not be able to answer it. Burnley were one of the 7 clubs who voted against the Premier League proposal. It's a bit complex, this, to ban.
I didn't know we did complex questions. Yeah.
Clubs.
So sorry,
I
go
can
again.
understand a lot of the clubs, like Manchester City, Newcastle,
Yeah.
multiple clubs in their ownership.
One of 7 clubs to
vote against banning clubs from loaning players from
Right.
multi-ownership clubs. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So City being able to loan someone from Melbourne, New York City. Burnley, I didn't quite understand. Do you know the thinking behind it, and did you have a part of the conversation?
No, I'm sorry. I wish, but it's.
Were you listening to
I've-
any of the press?
No, but like you have to make a distinction whether I turn up with a tracksuit or a suit. Today I'm in a tracksuit. That means those
You
are
had no input in that then.
no, those are suit events.
So it was a very complex question.
No, and do you know what? I every now and then I don't mind it, but I wish I could answer. Have you got any other complex questions?
Let's be done.
Right.
On quantum physics, Vinny, where do you Conor Roberts, but if you just ask about him, because he's been playing for Wales and they've now got this playoff against Finland, but he's been in and out of your team at right back. What does he need to do to cement that place or to be the regular at right back?
So I have 34 players in my squad as it currently stands. So I have more players we can have this discussion about than players we could have a discussion about them playing, right? The truth of it at the moment, with the results that we've had, I don't think any discussion about any individual is relevant at the moment. I think first we've got to win our games, get performances, and whether you play or don't play, we'll all benefit from the moment that we get over that hurdle. And I think I'm fully focused on the team side and the performance side, and yeah, it's not really something that's worth discussing too much about anybody really. I know I just had a little word on Traffs, but in reality, Traffs, Muric, Roberts, Vitinho, whatever, in reality, at this moment in time, it's all about the team. And that's what we should put forward.
And then just lastly for me, the home form, Vinny, I know it's been a weird one because you've had difficult opponents, but you've lost the first 6. I think only Newport in the history of English football have lost the first 7 away games. How big a factor is it avoiding defeat on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, you say avoiding defeat. I think the idea is to always keep winning. I feel I can be consistent in my answers because I remember last year, I think you said, or someone said it was, so last season we had the highest numbers of points per game in the history of the club. 100 no, more than that. So since the 1800s, right? We had the highest amount of points per game in the history of the club. I didn't really give an answer as to like, it matters more to me than everything else, right? And you spoke about the 101 points or 106 points, and we spoke about the 12 wins in a row. I didn't really get involved, so I'm not really going to get involved in the other side of records either, but I feel I have the right to do it because I've been consistent on this. The next game, though, that's what matters to me, and everything that can happen after. Maybe there'll be another record after, a positive one. We'll see, but the mentality of it and the belief has to be there.
Far too balanced for us, though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I knew that.
Hi, Vinny. Just on Muric, I believe he missed the game for Kosovo with an infection.
Yeah.
How's he doing?
Yeah, so he's not back yet. Hopefully he gets cleared tomorrow, and then hopefully he'll still be there for the game. But we'll see. He's not been training and he's not been able to play, of course.
And just on Lyle, I'm sure you've seen the fans have been showing their support with the mile for Lyle.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And the chairman get involved as well. How sort of heartwarming has that been?
Yeah, because you get to put the person first, the human being. But it's something I will say. I've said it early on as well. But it's this club for this reason is also very different than other clubs. I think there's a reason why historically this club has overachieved. I think there's still that same kind of idea of putting people first and being more like a family rather than industrial. And I don't think there's ever been any hesitation from any corners of the clubs that we should do what's right for Lyle. And it's difficult for us because he was our main guy. So on top of all the questions you've asked, really, we've also lost our main guy, but it doesn't matter. It's more important for him. And whenever he's ready, we'll embrace him, the fans will, and we'll continue our journey together.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.